This is eastern North Carolina. This is the black belt of North Carolina. This is the North Carolina Delta, if you will. But it is also where my father and my mother organized black, white, and native people to build a multi-ethnic democracy. It's where I was raised, where I was born. And when you heard the counselor say what he said, you ought to hear that this is not new in eastern North Carolina. My father in the 1970s was challenging the killing of unarmed black folk in eastern North Carolina. This is where they raised me, and this is the community that laid hands on me and said, go out in the world and stand for justice, stand for truth. And I stand here today to mourn the loss of a child of God. I'm here as a pastor to stand with the mother, the aunts, the children, the family, represented by this attorney. And lest we forget, in our urgency to know what happened, it happened to a man. It happened to a father of 7. It happened to a cousin, to a nephew. He's not a caricature. He's a man.
That's right. Yes.
A young 42-year-old black man.
Yes.
Say his name.
Andrew Brown.
And we're here to stand in prayer, but we are not here to simply say, God called Andrew home from labor to rest.
All right.
Now we, as people of faith, entrust Andrew to God, but we cannot use God to whitewash the fact that there must be accountability, and we must know all of what happened, and the tapes must be seen.
Yes.
America, here is the issue. A warrant is not a license to kill. Even if a suspect supposedly drives away. A warrant does not mean a person is guilty. A warrant is not permission to shoot someone, possibly with assault rifles multiple times. It is not the authorization to shoot someone in the back.
That's right.
And let's be clear. It doesn't matter if the officers are white or black,
Amen.
or brown,
Amen.
or men or women. If they engage in brutality, use excessive force, or abuse their power to murder citizens, officers of the law must be held accountable if the law is to mean anything for the rest of us.
That's right.
We must see the tapes. So we're here today to make some clear demands. This is not just what this family wants in all of their grief and what the community wants in all of its concern. This is what justice and truth demands. Release the tapes.
Release the tapes.
At least let the family see the tapes. Eyewitnesses have said Andrew was driving away from officers when they shot him. Now, the audio report said they had a suspect that was shot in the back. We need to see the tapes. North Carolina law does not prevent this. It may say that it's up to, or they don't have to, and we need to work on that in North Carolina. The General Assembly needs to pass immediately a law that says the body cameras are public record.
That's right. Amen.
If the audio is public record, then the video ought to be public record. Sheriff here, what's his name, Keith? Must come clean. That's the local president of the NAACP. We grew up together, slept on the same floor sometime. Even in North Carolina, the law doesn't say the tapes aren't public record. The DA can let the family, let the attorneys see the tapes. Look how fast the tapes were shown even to the public in Columbus, Ohio.
That's right. That's right.
And that happened in these same United States of America.
There you go.
Now, the DA, the sheriff, they know what's on the tape. The family needs to know what's on the tape. They need to know what happened to Andrew. They need to know when it happened. They need to know why it happened, because all they know right now is he's dead. And he can no longer speak on this side of reality. The sheriff, the DA can tell the community the truth. And listen here, we got to be clear about this. The other officers, if you know the truth, you can tell it. This is no time to hide behind a wall of silence. To protect and serve this community in a moment like this, you must give people the truth about what happened. And to the community and to the young folk and to the pastors and the protesters, young and old, white, and I want the media to keep showing it, white and black and brown and young and old and women and men and gay and straight in eastern North Carolina are marching. That's right. You really pay attention to that. This the South.
That's right.
And you look at that crowd of young people out there. All of them saying, release the tapes. All of them saying, Black Lives Matter. Whites just as loud as black. Because people in America who have a heart and a humanity and a conscience are sick of this. Yes, yes. This doesn't just impact the Brown family, so y'all stay vigilant but never violent. Stay vigilant. Yes. Like Dr. King said, confront injustice but confront it nonviolently. Amen. And confront it vigilantly. And this doesn't only affect black people. We need the truth, because no one is safe if the people we entrust to enforce the law abuse their power. A badge and a gun and a right to have a piece of paper and walk into somebody's house and take a loved one out of that house is too much power for a bigot. It's too much power for somebody that's quick on the trigger. It's too much power for somebody that doesn't know how to use proper restraint. A police person is the only person I know, Dr. Spearman, and I'm nonviolent, but he's the only person, or she's the only person I know that can come to my house, knock on my door with nothing but a piece of paper, and take my wife, take my child, take them downtown, and I say, baby, I'll see you when I get down there. Wow. He's the only one. He had too much power. Clergy in this city, black, white, and brown, should be united in calling for the release of these tapes, for the family to see the tapes and the truth about this case and about what happened. Say his name. Andrew Brown. If the shooting and the killing was self-defense or proper use of force, then show the truth. If it wasn't, show the truth. But sheriff, DA, law enforcement, you can't just shut up. You must speak up. And this is why you must do it now. And I'm going to close with these final comments. Last night I pulled an article, Counselor, that News One did in 2020, and it showed where 8 white violent criminals who had committed mass murder, and some of them resisted, all got arrested. They were all white. They all had killed somebody. Some of them had done mass killings. Some of them are resisted, but they all got. Dalen Roof got arrested, who killed folk in AME church, and somebody said got a sandwich.
Wow. Yeah.
That's right.
And he murdered folk and left the scene. They didn't get shot, they didn't get choked, they didn't get beaten, or killed, but far too often, if you're black or brown, you can be unarmed and still be killed. Police persons are not on-the-spot executioners, judge and jury. Black people, just like everyone else, are innocent until proven guilty. And when we challenge and call for the truth and transparency, this is not hating police. It's what we hate are double standards, deplorable actions that end up in deadly consequences. We've seen too many lives lost in situations that began with air fresheners in rearview windows, or allegedly spending a fake $20 bill, or selling cigarettes on the street, or because a warrant is served. This is why the family are saying they must see the tapes so they know the truth. They can handle the truth, but they can't handle silence, and they can't handle injustice. So again, we're here to demand what justice demands.
That's right.
There must be full accountability under the law.
That's right.
Now, one last thing. Whatever those deputies saw and heard, I'm a pastor, so I can say this, counselor. Whatever those deputies saw and heard, they've already confessed it. They told somebody, their wives, their girlfriends, their mamas. All of those men and women will have the local news on today while they're cooking and eating their dinner. And they need to be reminded, God already knows the truth. And they already know the truth. And the counselor has said to you, come here, counselor, that the truth will come out.
Yeah.
The truth will come out. Somebody just said one way or the other. And this is Eastern North Carolina. And I suspect before this is finished, we're going to need a federal investigation of pattern and practices. Not just in Pasquotank County, but in Eastern North Carolina. It's been too long. We ask the city, the state, the nation, and all those that know the words and the worth of prayer to pray for this family. Pray for this family. This grieves us. And I don't care what the color of your skin is, it ought to grieve you. Huh? From serving a warrant to shot in the back, we must see the tapes. Regardless of your color, your faith, or your creed, you know, in situations like this, only the truth can set us free. And if you know that, and you have humanity in you, then join us. Join this counselor. Join this family. Join those minor children. There's 5 minor children. Minors. Join us in demanding complete truth and full transparency. That's all we want. That's all we demand. Justice. That's all we've ever asked of America. Full and complete transparency and justice. The first principle of the Constitution, establish justice. One of the things, members of the media, you should know, because some of you are not from North Carolina, is how ridiculous it is for this council to have this kind of struggle with the DA and the sheriff when the governor was the former attorney general. The governor was the former attorney general 2 terms. Wow. He's not just a governor, he's a southern governor that was a former attorney general, the top law enforcement. And he has said, based on the call from Dr. Spearman and Brother Rivers, myself and others, he came out. That's what those of you who are not from here should understand. And on my brother's question, that bill is already being filed. So what is it, Key?
510.
Senate Bill 510. There's no reason that the General Assembly in this state can't pass that bill and open up these body cameras to public records. There's no reason. The only reason would be they, too, don't want to know the truth.
You talked about how, of course, you don't want to see Elizabeth City turn into another Minneapolis. We were speaking with the police chief earlier today and the city manager. They were concerned. They said, you know, everything has been very peaceful this week, but the weekend allows for people not from here to come here. How concerned are you about a protest maybe being taken over by people not from here who may have their own agenda?
You know, that concerns me. There's no history in this country where the Black Lives Matter movement, the Civil Rights movement, has been violent. There is plenty of history in this country where the law enforcement has been violent toward black people.
That's right.
Now, why would somebody raise that as a concern and you ain't more concerned about getting the tapes out?
That's right. Right. Tell the story. Right.
If some folk come and support, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about those who are saying it, that's another one of those red herrings that are thrown out in the South. They said when Dr. King came that he was stirring up trouble. all he was doing was stirring up justice. Huh? Far as that's concerned, I shouldn't be here. I'm from Goldsboro. I was raised in Plymouth, but this is my home area, Eastern North Carolina. That's not the issue.
That's right.
You wouldn't even probably have all of the protests if you released the tapes.
Right.
You wouldn't have to worry if you released the tapes. If you tell the truth, that's the violence, not telling the truth.
There you go.
And don't ever misunderstand, because that's another thing in the South. When Dr. King marched nonviolently, they said he wasn't being peaceful. They said he was stirring up trouble. When Fannie Lou Hamer marched, they said she wasn't being peaceful. That's an old semantic trick in the South to try to make the issue something else. Keith, if I'm not mistaken, a man is dead.
Yes, he is.
A 42-year-old man.
42.
Reported already by the authorities on the audio, shot in the back.
Shot in the back.
You ain't seen no tapes.
Ain't seen no tape.
Stop worrying about who's coming and worry about what you ought to be doing right now.
That's right. All right. That's right.
And if other folk come from around the world, they will follow the lead of the local, but that's not the issue. The world should be speaking out because we're sick and tired of all of these deaths happening that don't have to happen. Release the tapes. That's the fundamental issue.
History is a good indicator of what happened in the future. We are hopeful and we are prayerful that the district attorney would do his job, the oath that he took to uphold. But for us as a family, as a unit at large, you got to forgive us if we're not too excited about it.
And if that what we are confident of, if that comes back, that we will engage in every way legally, in every way in nonviolent protest, in every way on social media, in every way in our pulpits, in every way to demand that accountability is done and a measure of justice, because you can't have full justice if that happened because you took the person's life. But an accountability and a measure of justice will be seen. One thing about Eastern North Carolina, if I might be country for a minute, we grow our stuff deep.
Yes.
And we may not move as fast as everybody else moves, but when we decide to take root, we know how to stand. Remember, we've been here all our lives. We've been fighting all our lives. This is the South. This is Eastern North Carolina. This is where the country was changed, in the South. And so we make a commitment. We are fully confident that we will not quit. And if that's the case, it will only intensify and embolden our nonviolent agitation until change comes.
Last thing for you, Bishop, does the Chauvin verdict give you some renewed confidence?
That's a verdict in the midst of a history that's overlaid with too many times. That's a verdict. So we're thankful for that verdict. But look at how hard it was to get it. Look at what had to happen. The AG had to take over. They had to call a prosecutor out of retirement. It took a 9-minute plus video. It took police turning on other police. It took fighting against a defense lawyer that should be charged with perjury, in my opinion, for the lies he told about George Floyd. So don't mistake. That was a hard fought battle in the North. This is the South. But don't ever underestimate the South, because we know how to stand.
That's right.